Hey, welcome to Scry Fi, and we are talking about Ahsoka, episode 1 on this one. Obviously, spoilers, and we're welcoming Mike here to talk with us about Ahsoka. If you don't know, we have a show, Mike and I have a show on Mondays covering mostly board games, but we also talked about Ahsoka, upcoming stuff, things you should know about this last week. So go check that out. Yep. So we've all seen Ahsoka episode 1.
Yeah, this is heavy spoilers, by the way. So this is for if after you've seen it, the review talking about.
Yeah. Go see it first. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
General thoughts right off the bat.
I like it. I enjoyed it.
Wow, all the enthusiasm.
No, I really did. I think it's going to get better and better. And there were tons of cool stuff in that we'll get to. But yeah, I didn't have any problems with it or anything. And there were several things that I thought was really cool. So I'm looking forward to talking about it. But
I feel like I loved every minute of it. I was just like, oh, and this.
Yeah.
So
it was great.
But we're going to show screenshots along the way and like talk about each element and stuff. What about you, Mike? What you think?
I adored every minute of it. I think we talked about it on Monday, how we were going to have to put aside a couple things because you're going from these characters you loved in animation to real life, and it's never going to live up to the way that they can do it and draw it. My only thing was Hera. It took a minute to get into Hera's character. I think it's a little bit different than we've grown to love Hera in Rebels. But overall, I think the little nods, I think the little looking in the background, looking at all the stuff that you've come to like adore in these things to try and find like the Easter eggs and stuff. I think they did a bang up job bringing it right into real action from season 4 to what they're calling season 5. So everything about it was great, except for that one thing that just took a second to really like, okay, this is Hera now.
Yeah, I saw y'all talking about Hera too on your show, and the one y'all did talking about everything you need to know before watching. And I don't know if you realize this, but Hera's played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who was the main, character in Scott Pilgrim versus the World. The girlfriend that he was after, with the multicolored hair. That's who that was. And she also had a cool part in was the main character in that movie that came after. There was the monster movie where they tear up New York, and then there was the movie that came after that had the same name. Yeah, the Cloverfield something where she's down in a bunker.
The one with John Goodman.
Yeah, they're down in a bunker, and yeah, it was a good movie, but she's the main person in that. Anyway, she's been in a lot of stuff, and I really like that actress a lot. But it does seem Hera had more of a cartoon character kind of snazz to her, Maybe this is a little bit older Hera after fighting the wars of the Civil War. I don't know.
Well, one thing that's kind of funny is, okay, so in animation, it's perfectly okay if people wear the same outfit every single day for some reason. But whenever you watch something else, unless it's actual armor, you expect people to wear different clothes. But
I also expect a little bit
orange pants.
Yeah. Well, that's part of her flight suit, isn't it? Like,
yeah, but
that's the thing you wear over. Yeah.
She's hanging out on the big. Well, we haven't even got to it, but I know why to keep it on. It makes total sense, and I'm fine with it. I just thought it was kind of funny, like all these people who were cartoon characters are now. Even Sabine goes through a little bit of a clothing change, So
now the thing is too is that normally when you go from cartoon to live action, you don't actually make like if they've got an orange jacket in the cartoon. In live action, it's usually going to be kind of an orangish brown. It's going to be more saturated in color. And I feel like she looks a little cosplay to me. Like like the colors are too vibrant. Now, for Sabine, that's fine. She purposely makes her colors vibrant because she's an artist and she does that on purpose. but I think it needed a little bit more kind of bringing those oranges down to more of a brown or something like that.
Not like they
I
did
don't
with Zeb. Zeb wasn't as purple as the animated, right? He's a little muted more
Right.
when we see him in live action.
Yeah. And I also think that the actress, even though I really like that actress, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, I think she's not used to doing sci-fi, and she might still not be fully comfortable performing in that outfit like that. Some parts of her performance seemed reserved to me or something. People also have said that about Ahsoka, that she seems very different, but I think that's on purpose. She's like the fully mature Jedi. She's got that kind of like passionless discipline, and it's not the spunky kind of younger her. I think that's intentional. It's supposed to be like an arc.
Well, we see her mature from Clone Wars to Rebels, where she's a little more stoic, she's a little more reserved, and now that even more as Rosario's character, as she's bringing that character out. I think we get a little bit of Hera's cartoony nature in the one scene where she's like, "I'm the general, like I'm gonna override you." As I say. That whole
really that's episode 2, and so we should mention that episode 1 and 2 came out at the same time. We're only going to cover episode 1 here,
and then we'll have another video.
Yeah, and we'll come out with that really quick.
It's hard to get behind her as Hera, but she comes around.
I think it'll work in the long run. It'll take a little getting used to.
That is actually, out of 2 episodes so far anyway, that is genuinely going to be the only little tiny gripe that I'm going to have about everything here. Because
we're really talking about finer points here. I don't think this is anything that ruins it for me or any kind of big deal at all.
No, and Chris, you talked about that on Monday. The one thing going into it you thought was going to be a little bit of a hurdle for you would be Hera.
Yeah, because I think the actress looks a little younger than I expect her to be, and it's probably because Hera projects this very authoritative, like motherly feel throughout.
The actress in real life, by the way, is 38.
Which,
FYI.
Right, but the actress looks younger than 38.
Yeah.
So good for her, but also
Hera is drawn to look a little more husky or thick.
No,
I don't know what you.
No. She's tiny. Yeah, and I'll get to this in a minute because I have a good.
Maybe her face is wider or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, let's dive into the screenshots here because we start off with a scroll.
Yeah, cool opening. I think it was a good choice if you're going to do one to do it different. It's kind of reminds me of Solo's beginning.
Yeah, I don't mind that it's red text and that it's just flat instead of the slanted, but I do mind that it's left aligned. It just bothers me.
That didn't bother me, but it does. I don't know if you remember how Solo began, but it had a little like, and it was blue text, I think, but it was straight text.
Right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Had they not done left aligned, if they had done centered, they would have got criticized for it not being on a slant. So they had to do something, right?
Maybe, sure. It's just, as a graphic designer, I was like, I don't like it left aligned.
I also like the Lucasian phrasing, the evil galactic empire. It's always more of a comic booky kind of phrasing in these opening texts.
Yeah, and I like that they capitalized certain parts. It's really smart. And so, it brings you right to the minute they go, they're transporting a prisoner. You're like, I know what's coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they do this every single time.
It's like every time a pregnant woman is trapped in an elevator in a show or movie, know the baby's coming.
Yeah,
and it's the same thing. Anytime a prisoner is being transported and they're showing it, they're not just saying, "Yeah, we transported him." It'd
be funny if they just made one scene of like prisoner transport. Yeah, everything's fine, and then it just goes on. And you never see those people again.
They're like, "Oh, they actually transported the prisoner." Okay,
what? They went to prison and everything. Okay.
I love this ship, and I think we've seen this ship type before. I don't know where, but I think we've seen it before.
This looks like a calamari design almost because it's bubbly.
Yeah, it doesn't have the little nodules, though, so I don't think it is. I think it's just maybe the same manufacturer that did those troop transports in Empire Strikes Back.
This is a cool bridge, though.
Yeah. Yes, and the Admiral Akbar chair.
Yeah.
That is what Admiral Akbar was in. It swings around. It's on a little rod. It has that little thing in front of you, the control thing. The little Atari 2400 or whatever that is. Spray painted white.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And the outfits, same outfit that General Madine wore in Return of the Jedi. Yep. So that is the official general uniform.
I was trying to figure out who he was, like from what, because they're very good at like planting in people from other things, right? So I'm trying to place him, and as I'm trying to place him, I'm like, well, it doesn't matter because he's not going to make it. Like there was this overall feeling of like, yeah, this guy's going to die. Like something bad is going to happen. I don't know. But I tried to
when you see that.
Yeah. And he also had that kind of like smugness.
Yep.
You know, like, oh man, this guy's going down.
Captain Hale. I liked him. He was cool.
Yeah, I do like him.
He's like, oh yeah, they're Jedi. Oh, hold on, I'll handle this.
Yeah.
I also like the consistency, the New Republic uniforms in the background with the blue and white, what we've been seeing in the whole Mando era.
Yeah. And they're doing the blue and red based on rank, but it's on the opposite side, and it's a little bit like it's similar to the Empire, but it's different.
Yeah, and by the way, the Rebel ranks, the plates with the dots and stuff, that was from the original trilogy.
Yep.
Well.
So he meets the supposed Jedi kind of thing.
Okay, right? So is this the part where we talk about our theories about these people?
Oh, we can if you want.
We want to. Well, it'll involve later moments too, so I don't know. But at least at this point, I'm thinking, okay, so they gave Jedi. Oh, one thing I noticed is the ship they came in. That's a ship we saw in the Clone Wars. That style of ship comes from the Clone Wars era. I'll bet you anything when he left the order, when he disappeared after Order 66 or whatever, that's the ship he escaped in. Because it also looks old and run down. So he's probably had that same ship ever since then.
It looks modified too, right? It looks like a modified Imperial.
Oh, maybe so. But I recognize the round bit in the front, and I recognize that engine shape in the back. So we've definitely seen that ship.
Yeah.
Republic Red, yeah.
Yeah, so he meets Baylan, what was it? Baylan Skoll and Hera, and
Shin Hati.
Yeah.
Was her name ever said on the show? I didn't hear it.
I only got it from a cast list. I don't think they said it.
I had to look it up.
Yeah, I didn't hear it yet. Also, she's very shrouded, right? Like we don't like when they start looking at the lightsabers and we realize like this hilt is recognized, but this hilt is not.
Right. So I think what happened here is I think what happened here is this guy was probably like 25 years old. He was a Jedi Knight. He may have had a Padawan that died. He may have had a master that died, but he gets away after Order 66, goes into hiding somewhere, and he's probably like jaded. Now, it's not like he wants to go be dark side or be evil or anything, but he's just like, oh man, everything I believed in fell to nothing. And so he probably started loosening up his Jedi code stuff, but he's still practicing Force stuff. You know what I mean? So their lightsabers being orange, maybe that's like a taint of the dark side, but it's not full dark,
I mean, he says right here at this moment, we are no Jedi.
So it's like he's like doesn't consider himself a Jedi anymore, so he doesn't care about all those rules. So he probably is dabbling in the dark side, but he's not pure evil.
When you say dabbling, look at the screen.
No, I know he's definitely doing bad stuff, but he's not like
Force choke.
He's not like the Emperor or Darth Vader, who's all on with the Sith philosophy and all that kind of stuff. Is what I'm saying. Right. He's just like a dark side user. And he probably still views himself as like still being, he's not like philosophically a Sith.
I think what's interesting is people have talked about Ahsoka being a gray Jedi, and they've invented this kind of
I don't agree that it is.
Yeah, I know you don't, but I think what they're trying to show is that she is the lighter gray and he is the darker gray. Because there are certain moments.
What a cool juxtaposition between Baylan and her, right? Like you had that moment on the ship where she says, I don't do things. I've been doing things not by the rule book kind of thing. Right. And now you have him who also had that moment of reflection where it's like, oh, it's going to be sad if I have to kill her. Like you still have some of the feeling from this, what looks like more dark side. And you have this more rebel or opposite of like the Jedi Order. Like it's really cool to see those two characters coming out like this.
Wait, go back to the docking bay thing. Yeah, I think because they both have said, I am no Jedi. And it's just a matter of like, how far do you go from the Jedi rules and what is the consequences of that to your soul or whatever? And also like, what are you then? And what kind of rules will you adopt? What will you do and what won't you do? So I think you're exactly right. But I also feel like there's something else going on here. It's not just like a loosey-goosey away from the Jedi Order, but I feel like there's some kind of formalized something that he's come across that he's being influenced by. He found a ancient holocron, or he found some kind of something that he is
I don't know.
following.
I think he says that they're mercenaries at the point whenever he rescues Morgan Elsbeth. He says, well, we were paid to do this, so this is what we do. I think he might be very legally minded, like, here are the rules. I'm now a mercenary. This is what I do. I get paid to do a job. I do this.
I don't think he's really a mercenary. I think he posed as mercenaries to get with Morgan Elsbeth, and they really have their own agenda for being there. I don't even think he's done other mercenary stuff. I think they just came to her and said, yes, we will work for you as mercenaries because they wanted to. Is talking about ultimate power. They have their own agenda that's different from Morgan.
I'll disagree with that a little bit, but there's a scene, and this is in episode 2, but so we don't want to spoil anything for people who haven't seen episode 2. So, but that's where they kind of start looking at a different, like, oh, maybe there's a new path for us. Maybe there's power, blah, blah, blah. So I think at this point, he and his Padawan have just been kind of doing what they need to survive, kind of thing. And
I feel like they have an agenda from the beginning.
I agree with the agenda. I like that moment that you're talking about later on. But how cool of a name for the episode, right? Again, with the parallel of Baylan and Ahsoka, you have Master and Apprentice as the name of the episode. And
so who's it talking about?
Huh?
So who's it talking about?
Exactly.
The title,
and
right?
His Padawan has the braid too. Like everything about this was so well done.
I was going to point that out too. Yeah, that she has the braid. So he is keeping with some parts of it.
Yep.
And so he probably found her years later, maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah, she's
5 years ago. Who knows?
He might have saved it from the temple during the order.
I think she came after that. She's too young.
At this point, it was 30 years ago, I think, right?
Yeah, that's true.
28, 29 years ago, something like that.
That's true. Yeah, she might have been too
young. Probably 30 since we're past the first season of Mandalorian. So, yeah.
Oh, that's true.
And her number on her thing there is 620.
All right, so then we cut to. I thought this was a Jedi temple at first, but we find out that it's a
the sisters.
Sisters, yeah.
I didn't think it was sisters, but I didn't think it was Jedi either. I didn't see any of the Jedi script on anything, so it just looked different to me. I didn't know what it was, and I don't even think it was really a Night Sister ruins. I think it was the precursors to what became the Night Sisters.
Probably
some ancient thing before that.
I noticed, by the way, that I think they worked on her montrals. That's what those are called.
They look better.
They look better. They look a little bit longer, and they flow very nicely as she moves around. They swing around and move. They look more natural.
It doesn't look like
there are a couple
rubber.
Times with her and Hera where those things are bouncing around, and it took me away from the whole lore for a minute. I'm like, oh my god, they just looked, I don't know, weird.
But I think a fleshy tentacle would kind of bounce around like that.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe it's like a shark.
It really would work, but they definitely looked more foam than looked real. So,
I mean, you could just say that's what that tissue of that species looks like,
Very sure.
So we saw this scene on the trailer where she throws her lightsabers down and then
Yeah.
twirls them around in a circle and falls through. But
There's
I
a
just
little
wanted to
mistake
point
in
out,
that.
Yeah.
Oh,
I just wanted
cool.
to point out that she does this in Clone Wars, right? Spins it around, and
she had
then
already added that feat to her character.
yeah.
You know, they made a little mistake, though. I'd be curious to know if Clone Wars made the same mistake. So when the lightsabers are cutting, you can see they go out from her arms and they're cutting like this. So, but when the cylinder falls, it's got straight walls. The walls aren't angled like that. They should have been either lightsabers straight up and down, or have the little wall curved out.
Yeah.
Little minor detail. Now
I
this is
love
really
this.
cool.
Yeah, I love this whole scene. It felt very, Indiana Jones-ish, right?
This was Fifth Element all the way. The only thing I could think of was Fifth Element during this.
It also reminded me of Chris and I do the Star Wars role-playing game, and in his game that we did a while back, he had a lot of puzzle stuff in it, and it had some ruins that were very similar to this. So
puzzle temples and stuff. They'd have to actually move things. And
he had cut out pieces of paper that he put in front of us of the different pieces in the temples we'd find, and we'd have to arrange them, and it would cause different effects and stuff. So it was really cool. Also, I love the way this is the mechanics of this. You notice like it's a cylinder, and it has one cut that's at an angle, so that as you rotate it, it causes the top to angle like this. And then, of course, you have the very top piece that angles like that, which gives you everything you need for a full three-dimensional aiming.
Yep.
This was a really cool thing. So the thing that rises up, that's whenever I started thinking of Fifth Element, because it's in the shape of those blocks almost, right? But then she starts to knock it away like it's like this protective foam or something around it.
It's dust. It's the same black dust that's outside up top.
Okay. That's
you remember. They have these white ruins with this black sand, and it's a really neat look. So that's just more of that black sand, but it's like an insulator or protector.
Okay.
It also gave us a moment of, oh shit, it didn't work, right? Like there was this. It looked like it was almost it lit up. It was
it's all
like the thing she's after just crumbles because it's so old.
I thought the same thing too. I was like, oh no, it's broken. Like I'm 5 seconds into her little journey.
But just having it be inside of something like sand is so mysterious and weird and cool. I just love that. Yeah,
well done.
This was really cool because when she comes up, that thing is so freaking still. It's creepy. Like when it doesn't need to move, it's like a statue. But it's it's watching.
Yeah, that's so cool. And then all of these. Oh, there's that black sand you were talking about.
Yeah.
And you could see that it's poured into the middle or something like that. But yeah.
The HK droids are really cool. You can tell they're way more advanced than most of the droids used in the Clone Wars. Maybe they'd go toe-to-toe with those... I think they'd kick butt on those Special Forces droids. I forget what they're called.
The self-destruct thing, just like the IG series has.
Yeah, but way bigger, like nukes.
Well, when all three of them do it together, it's probably even worse. But yeah, I mean, that was pretty insane. They were probably told, like, if she starts to get away, blow it up. Like, do what you can.
I think the IG droid IG-55 probably had something like a thermal detonator. Whereas these things are probably like actually overloading their fusion cores or something.
Yeah.
Well, I had somebody reach out about, have you seen it yet? And one of their gripes was, why would they if they're looking for the map, why would they self-destruct, jeopardizing the map itself? And I feel like it was like, well, if we can't get it, she can't get it. So make sure you do what you got to do. Because there's probably another way to find what they were looking for, but they just had to stop her. Because that's true. Why would they blow this thing up if the map was known to be there?
You're right.
They couldn't let her get it.
There's a moment a little bit later whenever they come down and they're looking around. They're like, I don't see any sign of it or the map or anything. Right. And one of them says, well, maybe it blew up. And what's her name? Morgan Elspeth does not look concerned. So maybe it could survive that blast.
Yeah, maybe it's made of something that it can't disintegrate.
Yeah.
Maybe so, but maybe also, like you said, it would be better for it to be destroyed than to fall in the wrong hands. Also, the fact is, she probably also wants to destroy any evidence of her connection to what's going on, and she uses all those HK droids and everything's probably traceable back to her.
Sure.
So you'd at least want to destroy the HKs.
Well, I don't think she cares about that now. She's a fugitive at this point.
True.
Doesn't care about evidence.
Yeah,
True.
I do like that she wasn't walking calmly away from the explosion. She was like, "Oh,
yeah,
this is
like
bad."
she must have known, like looking at it when it came out of their chests. I don't know. She had
She
some
must have looked at it
technology, and
thought,
she
"Oh, this is
recognized.
Yeah.
Yeah, she must have known it was going to be, and that's fortunate too, that she didn't just like go behind a corner.
I know. That wouldn't have sufficed. Yeah, that's a pretty big blast.
Massive. There he is.
There he is.
Yeah,
Professor.
so cool. Same guy, David Tennant.
Yeah.
For Doctor Who fans, he's always great to see too, because he's one
Or
of the
Jessica Jones.
he's one of the most favorite. What's that show he's in
Woman?
with the? Oh yeah,
Good Omens.
that good. Yeah,
Yeah, he's a great actor. And he does so well for this character too. I mean, immediately you get the humor from the droid and stuff like that. And
so if you haven't watched Clone Wars, then anybody watching this character was in Clone Wars. He trained Jedi.
Helped him build their. It comes in. It's important. He helps them build the lightsabers.
Building the lightsabers, right? Which ends up being really integral to the story.
Cool. Yeah, it's a really cool story. It's really cool that she found him. I wonder, did she hunt him down? Because last we saw him in Clone Wars, he was basically on a ship. I can't remember what it was called now, but he was on a ship that would go back and forth from Coruscant to starts with an I, the planet that has the crystals, right?
That became Starkiller Base. Ilum.
Right. Ilum, yeah. So he in that travel with the younglings, he would teach them how to make the lightsabers. Well, on the way back, because they get their crystals from there, right?
And he's like really ancient. He taught Yoda how to build a lightsaber.
Yeah. Although, which would be almost 1,000 years, I think he says in the Clone Wars, but here he only says 500. So I wonder if they're walking that back a bit.
No. What he said with 500 is, in 500 years, no one has used this lightsaber design.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's as far back as his...
No, that he's just saying, like, 500 years ago, some other person did, but it hasn't been 500 years since that lightsaber design was used.
I could see that. I love that this ship is still here. We see this ship at the end of Clone Wars. Which Ahsoka's using.
And that ship class was also shown in some other episodes of Clone Wars before that, I think.
Yeah. It's such a cool ship, though. It has a remnants of like the Republic, with the red and the way it looks and smoothly comes in and adjusts,
Now there's a tech thing about Star Wars tech and how it works here in in a starship there's the hyperdrive, of course, but that's not going to be engaged if you're not going hyperspeed. Then there's the ion drives. Those are fusion thrusters. They don't normally engage those when they're first taken off because of the blast and all that. So when they're usually taken off, they're using repulsor lift technology, which is anti-grav system. And I think that it's pretty cool because a lot of times these fins, they're like, you remember the speeder bike in Return of the Jedi, and it had those two fins on the front that are like this. Those are repulsor plates. Those are stabilizers. So when Luke cut off the front of it, it just started spinning like this. And like the Lambda shuttle that has the three fins, those are also contain the repulsor lift stuff. So here, this fin thing probably also goes in that orientation for repulsor reasons.
So it has to
repulsor physics.
To use the repulsors that are on this side of it, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, ultimately what it's really about is just looking cool, but you're kind of alluding to this kind of physics of this technology and stuff, how it works.
There's an episode in Tales of the Jedi, Chris, I had sent you the screenshot of where for those that haven't watched, this might be a little bit of a spoiler of that show. But if you haven't, go watch episode 1 and episode 5 of Tales of the Jedi to learn a little bit more about Ahsoka. But we meet her. So the first episode is her as a baby, and we get like that whole thing. But then later on, we find where she went when she left, and she's hiding out in this like farming little village. And in the background, they focus on it multiple times when Bail Organa comes, and the camera. Nothing is by accident in anything that they do. And if the camera zooms in on something or pans to something and stops, and they wait there a couple seconds, right, where they could just fade to black or something comes through, they focus on what looks like this fin. It's much smaller, but it focuses on something that looks like that had been in the field for a while, that maybe she took and crashed there, and that was her ship. And I thought it was this, but there's no way that could be it, because that's when they called her back into the fight. Right. And this is obviously way after. So I'm glad to see the ship. I thought maybe that the ship was gone, but I'm glad to see it here.
Cool.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, very Jedi Starfighter-ish, right? Obi's red and metallic beige looking thing. It's cool. There's Hera.
Now, here's an interesting thing. Okay, this is the point where the ship. Is this the point where the ship docks with Home 1, right?
Right.
Phantom.
So what's cool is that I want to talk about the scene leading up to this. So they arrive in it. It's like Home 1. So Home 1 is the name of Admiral Akbar's ship. That is the Mon Calamari cruiser from Return of the Jedi. It's the exact ship. And I was looking at pictures and figuring out where they were and everything. So it's asymmetrical. So on the starboard side, the right side of the ship, is one large docking bay. That's the one that we see in Return of the Jedi, that had all those ships in it with the Falcon, where he says, I want Lando to take the Falcon, all that stuff. On the port side of the ship are two smaller docking bays, and they're in the port side forward one. That's the one that they go in here. And what's also cool about this scene is that the ghost is there. It's in the docking bay, but they're very subtle with it. So you see it from far away, and you see a little piece of it when they show from inside the control booth looking out. And then right here, behind her head, that's the bottom side of the ghost. But they don't really show it directly. It's just kind of like tucked away.
The ghost is Hera's ship from the Rebels, yeah.
And it was so cool getting to see the same ship, the same style of docking bay, and then later when they go into the hologram room, that is the room that Mon Mothma and Akbar gave the briefing on how to attack the Death Star to.
Yeah.
So I did this to show what Hera looks like in animation, but more importantly, look how short she is. Hera is very short. Like, she's the shortest one of all the Rebel people. I think even more than eventually Ezra. But in this one, well, I jumped ahead, but in this one, she's taller than everyone. This actress is so tall. And that's one of the things, like, Hera in the animation is like a petite form, but she's bigger than life because her personality and her authority and all that stuff.
And now she's wearing her general jacket.
Yeah, the pants are a little different too. If you look at them, like it like comes up almost like a overall kind of thing.
Maybe.
So also, how do you get around that big head like that too? That's a cartoon thing that you just can't get around, really.
Sure.
I think they did a great job with it. I think maybe she's got different kind of pants, right? Different form fitting, like Lee's and Levi's.
But they're all orange.
Yeah, maybe. Like,
She
who
likes
knows? That
orange.
could be just her colorway, and that's what she appreciates.
Hey, well, at least she changed pants.
Yeah, I mean, that looks more like a jumper than it does a set of pants, and then she looks like she's wearing pants in the show. But she looks about the same size as Sabine there, though. She doesn't look much smaller.
Yeah, Sabine's pretty short though.
But Sabine's supposed to be pretty short too.
All right, and Ahsoka, like, they all look like they're about the same
Sabine's
size.
casting, by the way, was phenomenal.
Beautiful.
I mean, that is Sabine,
Well, his casting was obvious.
Oh, yeah. So great. This is Clancy Brown. He's appeared, he plays Governor Ryder Azadi.
Yep.
And
he does the voice for him too, so it's just perfect. He
did the voice for him. Looks like him. I wonder if Filoni was thinking one day, I'm gonna get to do some live action.
I did see an interview with Katie Sackhoff where she was talking about Filoni, where she shows up to do the voice right, for Bo-Katan for the animation. And Filoni says, "Wouldn't it be great someday if you played this in real life?" And she was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah."
So
And then,
maybe he
of
was
course,
purposely casting people that look like, or making them drawing to look like
Yeah.
them.
very smart. So
Yeah. And Clancy Brown, by the way, is a really cool character actor. He's been seen in a lot of stuff. He was also the big Deveronian guy in Mandalorian when they did the prison break.
Right.
That was with the red.
So he's played 2 Star Wars people. That's
At least, I think. I don't know. I know he's been in Star Trek as well.
Was he the
Yeah.
one that was banging the? Was that? He was
You should
banging
finish
the
it.
bell.
He was what?
There was a. I don't know if that's Andor. Or if I'm thinking of
He was from
something else.
Highlander.
Oh,
No,
hitting
no,
that
no,
bell.
More modern. More modern. He was up in a tower and he was banging a bell.
No, that wasn't him. That wasn't him.
You
But
think
I can
that was
see why you think
Mandalorian.
that. It was a big dude, though. That was Andor.
Oh,
Yeah,
that was
that's what I
Andor.
thinking it was
right.
Andor, which is
Yeah.
kind of continuity break if it was him. All right, good.
So these
and
scenes-
Cool.
yes, perfect
Oh.
recreation. Perfect recreation of the highway scene, because we remember that highway. But what's weird about this whole place is that there's this long highway built to nothing. It's like a project, a dead end
Yeah.
project or something, right?
No,
It's a landing
it
pad.
splits.
But it's a landing pad. At the end of this, on the way to the tower, there's a landing pad there
Yeah.
for all the ships that.
Oh, so if you have a really big ship, you would land way out
And
there
then this was the runway.
and then right in. And it's only
And it
for that
also
access.
splits off, yeah.
Oh, it splits off. And that explains why there's no traffic on it. Because I was like, where is the traffic all the time?
I mean, they
Because-
recreated this so well. This is from Rebels.
Yeah.
And then
Mhm.
this is the tower that Ezra lived in at the very beginning. Here it is in Rebels.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing that they pulled
Really
all-
cool.
Yeah.
They've got a little bit more realistic. I don't know if you'd call it the lensing or if the actual distances of things. Some of that's a little different and more realistic. Wait, go back to the highway scene. So we talked about the continuity stuff, but also just as a scene, this was really cool. I love the little rock music that was playing. I want to hear that track by itself. Had some other language going in it. And it was really cool. And I love her scene turning off the repulsor thing so she skids down under the thing. That was a really neat scene. E-Wings as well. We get to see E-Wings in live action for the first time.
Yep.
Yeah. This was really cool.
But then we start getting the parallel story of the Master and the Apprentice, right? Like we find out that she was being trained by Ahsoka for a while, and
That's what we didn't know. The gap between these two had some things take place. We still don't know the details of that, but apparently they had a falling out at some point.
right.
So I did watch the last scene of Rebels where she leaves with Ahsoka at the end of spoilers, I guess. At the end, she leaves with Ahsoka at that point, right? And she's talking like a voiceover, right? And one of the things she says as she's about to leave, she says, "I'm going to go find Ezra or whatever, but I know there's something more ahead of me, some sort of destiny or something like that." Like, I don't know the exact words, but it made me think like, oh, she's already kind of thinking like, there's something more I'm about to step into kind of thing. So that was interesting. I didn't pick it up at that point. I don't even know if they meant it at that point, but yeah.
Well, that's
Now
the brilliance of the story writing that they do, right? They take something that was just a throwaway line or a throwaway comment or whatever, and then Filoni and the writers will just come in and be like, you know what, that's this, and then flesh that out and say, holy shit, that was brilliant.
Or a lot of times Filoni probably has an idea about what he wants to do with it, and so he's. I think both probably happen. I love seeing the Lost Cats in live action. Very well done. Also, it was cool how when she first walks in, it stands up and you see it kind of shake a little bit as it stretches.
Like cats do. Yeah.
Anybody who has a cat knows that's very familiar.
The animators definitely have a cat. Yeah.
If they put the map on the table and the Lost Cat didn't want to go and smack it, you know, like it would have been such a misstep. That one little like it's looking at it and I'm like, all right, they're gonna raise the paw. They got to raise the paw. and then they don't, and they give you just enough time to be like, oh man, they missed it, and then they raise the ball. It was great.
Yeah, puts a little ball in there, and the cat goes.
I guarantee you it would have been on the floor by the time she came back if she had left it.
Oh, it would have been out the door, off the railing, on the floor.
Yeah.
This was great. This moment where we find, like, we don't know what happened, right? We have no idea. Even in the scroll, if you go back to the scroll, it says the lost Grand Admiral Thrawn, like he's lost, but it seemed like he wasn't lost. They knew where he was. And then we didn't know they were going to find Ezra. They didn't know where Ezra was, but there's been some communication like, sorry, I left you, but I had to do the thing.
I think he left that for her because he knew he was about to go into something dangerous. It was like one of these, if you're getting this, it means I'm already dead.
Oh, see, I took this as it was a transmission after the fact.
No, that would be a big deal because she thought that he was dead.
Right.
You know?
Oh, okay. I looked at it
differently.
I took the words that he said.
I think it's just, it's like, in case I die message.
Yeah. There is one thing he does during this, the actor, while he's talking, he kind of goes like this.
I noticed that too. He mimics the mannerisms. Very cool. I think that's pretty good casting for Ezra too.
Yeah. It's hard to see him because they don't zoom in or anything to him, which is fine. But he's got the like shaved head, like the buzz cut.
Like he did toward the end. I would almost love to see that actor with the
scars.
Oh, yeah.
What was that? I mean, the scars?
Yeah, misstep if they don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to have seen that actor with. Wait, go back. I would love to have seen that actor with a wig to see if he looked like the earlier Ezra before the
younger and stuff. Though.
Yeah. Also, a little bit of continuity here. The holo projector. It's the exact model that Qui-Gon Jinn was holding when he shows what the Nabooan ship looked like.
We used to have a little toy that was that little thing. And you could put a little projector guy on there. They like see through.
Yeah. They had those little chips. They look like little USB drives with the figures that you'd put on one of those things.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
Cool.
All right, so then this is the scene I was talking about where they come back to look at all the rubble after it blows up and stuff. But this was a good shot to see her braid.
Yep,
that's a really long braid, so she's quite
been a Padawan for a while. Yeah. Oh, interesting. I didn't know it worked like that.
Far into there. Yeah, I mean, from her age too, I would imagine he'd probably follow I find a small kid, I train it, and all that stuff, right?
I found a kid and I trained it.
That's what Jedi did. They're like, hey,
just rides her around on her shoulders, like
I found this kid. I'm gonna train it. Be a good kid.
What a totally different Baylan story.
Fetch my blue milk.
My God.
This, by the way,
this dude.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this dude. What's his name? Mawak or something?
Yeah. Well, they don't even say it in this episode. They say it in the next episode.
Oh, okay. I can't remember what was in which episode.
I know. That's why I'm going through bit by bit so that we don't. But yeah, when you see that on his back,
I think it's pretty obvious that this was an ex-Inquisitor. This guy used to be Inquisitor, then the Empire fell. And now he doesn't have anything better to do.
Up until that point where it turned around, I couldn't unsee just a knight, like a medieval knight of King Arthur.
Oh yeah,
because the helmet's all
face, it had that armor. I'm like, what is this? What is this?
Very cool.
I'm like, ooh, like we didn't see any of the details of its mask. Then it turned around and it was like, all right, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, you instantly want to know more about this character. What the hell? Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, I wonder.
I don't think he speaks so far either.
No.
Nah. He's the assassin.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a good thing that person wasn't. Well, okay, I won't skip ahead.
So yeah, it was nice to see them meet so that you know that they've had, talking to Sabine and her. I like that she find her drawings on the ship, Ahsoka's ship, so obviously she
probably feels good that it wasn't painted over.
Yeah. Little chopper in there and those cats.
And it gives you the filling in the gap of like she was on that ship with Ahsoka doing the thing because we see her drawings in Ezra's home room. I don't know what that
Right.
tower, right? So you see that connection happening. Really
It's
neat.
a communication tower, yeah.
Do you think the artist that decorated the set here and in her place where she was living is the same artist that did the art in the Clone Wars so that you could match the style and stuff?
It'd be smart to get the same artist, and it might be more than one artist, honestly, but they're just following a certain style guide, right?
That would be interesting to know.
I would hope so. Like, especially with that mural of them, right? With the wolves and everything. Like, I would hope that is. I don't know if that's true. Maybe somebody watching can comment. But
I mean, a good artist can copy the style, but it would be cool if it was.
It could be digital. It could be. It might not be hand painted. It could be a CGI of whatever. But it'd be really neat if. And they seem smart enough as a group that they would try and do that, right?
Yeah. So this was a cool where they go to her because she's very artistically, spatially minded to kind of open it up and stuff. That's a neat idea to take just her artistic stuff. And they did this throughout Rebels too, where they used her abilities to look at this kind of stuff, especially near the end where they look at that on Lothal, that temple and the Jedi art. She's clearly more than just a sketcher or something. Like she really studies art and stuff. It's almost like the antithesis of how Thrawn studies art, right?
Right.
And kind of like art history. Yeah. So,
iconography
and stuff.
Using art to try and find a pattern. That was smart. This was super.
This scene,
right?
Oh, this scene was so good where the little droid sees.
They even have some of the same sound effects that when Darth Maul got the probes back on Tatooine.
Yeah. I expect her to get on a bike and immediately head down the hill.
But what an upgrade, right? When we zoom back out from this scene here, and you had the two droids standing there, like it was similar and different, which is so good of them to do, like throughout all of the stuff to keep it familiar but make it.
It rhymes.
Yeah,
so good. I love that scene. All right, so she finally gets it unlocked.
Very cool. Oh, by the way, go back to that previous one. The symbols on here, when she was looking at the layout of the room, the hologram of the room, it has that 3-part symbol, that little tripart symbol.
Trinity.
That's actually a symbol of meaning to Wiccans. And so the idea of the death and mirror witches is kind of a cool little tie-in there. So this was a really neat effect too.
Yeah, this was really neat to see. I wonder how detailed they get. Like, did they really?
I was wondering about that too. Like, could you figure out which planets those are?
Is that Coruscant? Yeah, it's just Tatooine way out here. All that stuff.
Well, I'm trying to find a connection between the opening credits. Like when you look at Game of Thrones and they had that opening credits in Game of Thrones, like everything kind of made sense. And then the storyline and the points of interest in what happened and what is about to happen was always in there, right? We went to the different locations and that made sense. And in that what is almost a scrolling story in the beginning of like this line, this linear line that's branching out, you get the Purgles and you get all of those things that are traveling through. And I'm curious, is it like, and I don't know the language they're using there, so there's got to be a translator.
Yeah. I don't know if it does translate. I know it's not hard.
The story of Rebels, like if that's what happens and how it goes around, they go to Lothal, they go to all these different places. Then the Purgles happen. The Purgles take Ezra and Thrawn out, and that's that line that goes out. And then all these lines are going to converge on where, like that whole thing's going to start to unravel, and it's going to start making sense, which is really.
I think you're right. I think it does have something to mean, but it could also be the path that some ancients did.
Sure.
That they're following now. You know what I mean? Like, something like that. And I think if you could translate, you could figure out what all those systems were.
Yeah. There's got to be they got to be using something that exists. And I'm sure someone a little deeper down the Star Wars rabbit
need
hole.
some little Rosetta Stone to go, oh, that's an A, and then we could start plugging it. Yeah.
And I guarantee you an artist didn't just start drawing random circles and lines and oh, that looks cool. You know, it's probably really does refer.
I know
to
at one point on the end credits, it hits a planet which has a little moon. I was like, okay, which ones have a little moon? I'm trying to think of what that could be. Yeah,
I guarantee it all means something.
None of that is random. That's not the Filoni way.
And not that it's important to decode that to understand the story, but I just love that they put that much thought in the background. I'm pretty sure that.
By the way, this is, I'm pretty sure, the only time, other than Another Galaxy Far, Far Away, that they've ever mentioned another galaxy, right?
Right.
So to leave the galaxy is
no, there is a little bit of another mention. The Star Wars galaxy, and they should have probably portrayed it there. It doesn't matter if it's because not everything's on a map sometimes, but there is another minor galaxy. There's two minor galaxies really close, like almost converging with the Star Wars galaxy. There's one that's when they say the Rishi Maze that was just above where the clones made
Camino.
So just above Camino is the Rishi Maze, and that's the galaxy that we see Luke and Leia looking at when they're standing in the Med Center at the end of Empire Strikes Back. You can see that galaxy. So that's a mini galaxy or a minor galaxy. They're just called Aru and Besh, A and B, and they're not represented here, but they would be just like right on top of it, you know, right next to it.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that
little mini galaxy. They're almost just basically considered part of the galaxy. Just a minor point, but yeah, they certainly never mentioned intergalactic travel though.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, she's using Ezra's lightsaber, which is pretty odd. Did he not have it with him at the time? Like, how does she have it? I didn't recall exactly.
Yeah, I don't remember either
where that would have been and stuff. But, yeah, so she strikes that, and you're like, ooh, like she looks confident doing it too. And
yeah.
I like the scene where she was like, "We've been looking for this." Like, that's too bad.
Can I just say something about her fighting? And I mean Shin Hati's fighting.
Yeah.
I love the way she was choreographed and the way she acts as she fights, because you see her like strike and do some stuff, and then she moves back, and you see her. She just never loses eye contact with the person that she's fighting with. Like, she's taking clues of where her eyes are going as to what she's going to do next. She's just super, super focused on the person's eyes as she's fighting. And you can see her trying to figure out what's going to happen next. And then she makes another move. I just really like the way they have her.
Yeah.
Her fight.
She has her own Ahsoka-ish. And I mentioned this on Monday's show. When you watch Ahsoka fight, she's always looking at the major threat in the battle. She's not looking at the person she's fighting. So when she's fighting the droid and there's the ex-Inquisitor or whoever it is, she's looking at him while she's like stabbing the droid, but then using the droid as a shield and always looking at the major
you're
threat.
talking about episode 2.
She does the same. That was in 1.
Nope.
The fight was 2?
Yep.
Oh, it was in one of the trailers too. I mentioned it in the trailer where she stabbed the droid and was looking off to the other.
Yeah. She does that in Clone Wars as well. Yeah. And I love the way she does this here, and I also like how she uses her cape. I've never seen a practical use of a cape.
I took a picture of that because she uses it twice in these moves, where she uses it to hide what she's doing with her next attack.
Yeah, when you're trying to watch every move they're making to see what they're going to do next, and then this big sheet of cloth comes up and you don't know what's going on behind it, that's deadly.
Yeah.
So doing this with your cape while you're doing something else behind it is...
It's the sand in the eye
really
trick.
cool.
It's the dirt in the eye.
Yeah.
Right? The dust in them in the face while you're going to attack them.
But this is an actual sword tactic that you can use with cloaks whenever they did fencing. That's why they have the half.
Because you don't know what you're going to see when that thing goes away. It's like really cool way to break their line of sight. And I've never seen a cape have a practical use like that in a show before. So that was really cool. Awesome.
This was a great fight.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like
really very well done.
And to top it off, you have Ahsoka running as fast as she can to this point. You're watching the ship. You're like, go faster, hurry! Like they're building up the suspense.
Yeah.
And she can probably also feel what's happening as well,
right?
Even out of her sight.
And then you see that, and you're like, wait, no.
Now you can tell where she's hit right there is, oh, she can survive that. So you're not thinking she's really going to die here. But that was cool, and it was also interesting how she didn't seem like she had this need to coup de grace her or finish her off.
Well, there was this that looks like a need to coup de grace her.
Well, she's definitely using some. She's concentrating. She's using the Force. She might even be using the dark side of the Force. She probably is, but I don't think that necessarily means that she's gonna. Like they said, oh, it's a shame to kill Ahsoka. I think they have their goals, but they're not just like vicious monsters.
They definitely don't hate the Jedi.
He implies that he's going to do it. Like it's going to be a shame to kill her, but he's got to do it.
Right. He's going to do what he wants to do. But
Ahsoka's coming. Like you see the light in the background there. Ahsoka.
Oh yeah.
So she doesn't really have time to waste.
Right. So and I'm sure she's aware that she couldn't take Ahsoka.
Yeah, and not only that, but like they're just focused on their goal. The most important thing is getting that map out of there. So
yeah. So, however, her stare that she does, it reminded me of Darth Maul's stare. If you remember during the fight of Episode 1,
with the walls, the laser walls.
Yeah, but even during the fights, like he would lock and stuff. He would do this thing, and there was one point during the Episode 1 fight, while they're fighting, where he does it to Qui-Gon, and you see Qui-Gon kind of go like it hits him. Like there's some
force power.
There's a force power that is like causing some kind of intimidation or something. I think she's trying to do it here.
Either mental control or mental distraction or stress or something that they're projecting with the force going on while they're fighting. I think she's doing that, but she's also, to me, it looks almost more like an analysis too, like taking in, reading her mind, trying to read her mind and penetrate what she's going to do next. Yeah. And yeah, that stare of Darth Maul is classic. I mean, when those doors open up and it's like a zealot or a kind of like just intense,
a
fanatic
thing, like a Terminator. They will never stop. Kind of thing.
Yeah.
It makes it more intense when he's got the yellow and red eyes than just a human doing it. It looks almost more psychopathic.
See, and they don't have the yellow eyes either. So I think they're just losing bits and pieces of maybe they have this, maybe he has this, Baylan Skoll has this philosophy of like, it's okay to use it when you need to, something like that, but I don't know.
And this is how Episode 1 ends, so.
Are we all okay with the automatic jump over to just her being like getting stabbed and ending that way? Are we okay with this?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
What do you mean?
It's a good ending.
Oh, you mean you mean ending the episode like this?
This was a good ending for the character. I think we've seen her long enough, and now she's gone. So no, I think it was a good ending for the show for the episode.
Well, let's not jump into the Episode 2 and say it's really you kind of want to, but that's where Episode 1 leaves. Of course, I didn't stop right there. You just hit next episode immediately and watch it. So we'll have another episode where we talk about what happens right after this, right? Yeah,
she's going to be encased in a suit of cybernetics and be more machine than woman.
We saw Han get stabbed, right? We've seen a couple people get stabbed, and
in real life, people are stabbed in that spot and live.
I mean, Han might have survived had he not fallen.
Well, we have Darth Maul that fell down the thing, and he's fine. You got the Emperor that fell down the thing, and he's fine. There have been a few people that have fallen down like that.
By the way,
that's why they don't build railings on anything, because apparently death doesn't come when it's okay to fall.
By the way, we've always kind of just thought, or at least I have always thought, like a lightsaber could just go through anything with butter, just like as if it wasn't there. But
not
I don't think
anything.
that's the case.
Well, look at like Qui-Gon Jinn trying to get through the blast doors.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the
episode
case
1.
even with people. When you see earlier in this where Baylan hits like a guy in the back of the leg, the lightsaber bounces a little off of it. I actually
so you
think
have to
like
apply a
you
little
push
force.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're as strong as Darth Vader, maybe.
Right.
You know.
One-handed.
Darth Vader's hacking away like an axe
Yeah.
sometimes, but
Yeah.
that explains why. And this is the same thing with Darth Maul when he gets Qui-Gon in episode 1. Why it goes in and they pull it out instead of pulling sideways.
Because
Yeah.
it's
Or
easier
it
to
looks
pull
like
it back
they're
out.
almost kind of like going, okay, let me get it out just right.
Yeah.
Even Darth Maul.
But there's
did
some
that.
resistance.
There's resistance. So the fastest way to get it out is the way it came in, right?
I think that's reasonable, yeah. And it
Unless
also
you're just trying to be extra.
Sure.
it also comports to Lucas's thing. He wanted even though it's a laser sword, he wanted it to be something where it feels like strength is needed and there's a weight to it.
Mhm.
And he didn't want them to act like you're holding a flashlight. You know, he wanted everything to feel like it was a sword, even though it's not.
Which makes Vader even that much, if you think about it, which makes him that much more powerful, because a lot of his fighting, until he really is like, oh shit, I have to fight, nothing with
one-handed.
And he just
Yeah.
beats down people like nothing.
I love in Empire Strikes Back when he just pushes Luke to the ground, just like with one hand like that.
Yeah.
And you know, again, I have to say Empire Strikes Back, if you forget what you know and imagine you're watching it for the first time, when Luke goes in there, you're like, man, he is not ready for this. He is. This is like bad that he's facing Darth Vader.
Yeah, it was like two weeks ago he was playing in the desert with a little model, right? Like it wasn't even 2 weeks.
Yeah, and it just creates so much more fear and everything. And then what's cool too is that you can tell. Well, we're going into Empire Strikes Back, but it's just cool how that lightsaber fight develops.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had some great lightsaber battles, and this was a great lightsaber battle. And we'll talk about it next episode next time.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, any other notes on the first episode? How it all went? I mean, there was so much packed into this.
The only thing is that, like, you could tell little things, like, and this isn't bad little things. It's just interesting little things. Like the first time they said Padawan, they said a Padawan learner, which is really redundant, but they said that for the sake of the audience that doesn't know what Padawan means. Yeah. So you could see them dropping things in there designed to kind of bring you up to speed. If you had never watched anything Star Wars before and you turn this on, you could still get by. You just wouldn't get all the depth and coolness that we're enjoying from it.
Like everything in Star Wars, you could always maybe talk your way and go, maybe there are different categories of Padawan. A Padawan learner is a basic category.
Yeah, it works for the story to know
Padawan
enough.
Apprentice to Padawan, something else. Which
you picture any sci-fi movie. Take a sci-fi movie that, like, is a one-off sci-fi movie, and it takes place in the far future. They always start with stuff, and you don't know what's going on, but they give you enough to kind of figure out, oh, this is how the world is. You can totally pull that off with Star Wars if you do it right. It's just that we, as the hardcore fans, are like, oh, you got to see this, you got to see that.
Right. Yeah.
That's an interesting point, Chris. I didn't think about it. So you put it in those terms. We have like Master Yoda, right, and Master Windu, and the name of the episode is Master and Apprentice. It's not Master and Padawan, right? So there might be different levels of once you get to a certain level, you're
So we do know that there are levels. There's a master and there's a knight, and then below that is Padawan.
Right.
But within all of that, there might be different levels, and there's an association. So, like Anakin was calling his master Obi-Wan Kenobi master, even though he was a Jedi Knight at that point. Right. So he
used to be his master.
Well, right, but it's still so. Master is a title that Apprentice says to the person training them, even if it's double used, is what makes it confusing.
Right,
Because
and it's actually triple used because it also works as an honorific. Like if you're a civilian or just a regular person out in the galaxy, and you see this person. You might say, "Oh, Master Jedi," and you just—it's just like a term of respect.
Yeah,
which is different than the
C-3PO called him
formal
Master
rank
Luke.
of master.
Yeah, C-3PO said Master Luke all the time, right? Which,
Well, that was because he was a
is
droid and it was his master.
sure, but it is, like you said,
Like
another
if Han Solo was his owner, he would have called him Master Han or whatever.
probably.
Going back to the beginning of the episode in the scroll, they point to Ahsoka being a Jedi Knight. Was she a Jedi Knight?
No, but she was offered so whenever they said, "Hey, come back to the
Right.
thing, you'll be a Jedi Knight,"
And
he said, "Consider
No.
this your trial," kind of thing. She
Right.
said no, so she was not a Jedi Knight.
Right, but they say it in the scroll. They call her a Jedi Knight.
That's true. They do. I
Yeah.
have it right here. I can show. It says former
Jedi
Knight.
Knight.
She was not a Jedi Knight, right? And that's kind of my thing. Is, like, they keep calling her a Jedi, and she was never a Jedi. She was an apprentice. She was a Padawan, but she was never a Jedi.
Padawan.
See, I wonder.
Jedi is the entire class.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, Jedi is like includes the librarians and the people that go help people on farms and stuff. They have all kinds of divisions.
It's a religion.
That's
true. It's a
Right.
follower of the Jedi religion, basically.
So she was at some point until she renounced the order and took off, but she was not a Jedi Knight, correct?
True. Okay. But
yeah.
I think, and of course Filoni would have known that. He knows this stuff better than we do. I think they said, you know what, it's too confusing to try to be like once former Padawan.
Wasn't.
People don't know what a Padawan is, all this stuff. Just say that it's Jedi.
But, you know, we also don't know that the word knight is a formal rank. It could just be that the formal rank is Padawan, or formal term is Padawan, formal term of master, and then other than that, everybody are Jedi Knights, and you know, it's just like a term for the
maybe,
you know.
Yeah, that seems like it takes away from like calling them Jedi Knights and all of the other the stuff that has come before, right? Like it seems like if that were the case, that would almost downgrade what we know.
Like a squire is not a knight, right? Because a squire is like a Padawan, and then you become a knight.
So
you're knighted.
Take it in those terms, though. It's like imagine a story where a squire's like told by the knight, "Okay, here's your formal invitation to be a knight," and they go, "Nah." And then later on, you go, "Former knight, blah blah blah." People would be like, "No, he was never actually blah blah blah." But
yeah, but anybody in the world who saw this armored guy coming down the thing with the thing, and he's got the training and the sword and all that, they'd say, "Oh, that's a knight."
Yeah.
That was my first thing when the scroll was going up and it said the former Jedi Knight. I was like, here we go.
And we're such geeks that, you know,
just like
thing matters, right? But I
just
think
like Anakin was never a master.
Right.
I think to tell the story correctly, you know, not correctly, but in a way that makes sense, you have to fluff it a little bit.
Also, messiness of terms kind of makes things realistic in a way, too. It feels more realistic to me when there's messiness and inexactness and stuff, because that's how the real world is.
They could have just left Knight out of there, right? They could have just said former Jedi.
Yeah, they should have done that.
So she's not a Jedi anymore. So if you just say former Jedi Ahsoka, you're fine. But the fact that they put Knight in there, and it's bold, which is bringing attention to the letters, right? Like that's a term they want you to know. Like, all right, fine.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, they could have just left it at Jedi, but nitpicks, right?
Maybe there's something, because we do. I mean, maybe there is something that's going to happen in some flashback sequence that's going to fill in a little bit of the gap, and we realize like she did get knighted or something. I don't know. They're still holding true that she's not a Jedi, so I don't know if that's going to happen. But
when Hera's too tall and they said knight instead of just Jedi is the only really nitpicks you can have of an episode, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still aggravated that they don't give Chewbacca the medal. Like, come on. Medal in that thing. That's so dumb.
Well, he got it later on. He got Han's medal.
Yeah, he got Han's medal. He should have got. He was as integral in that whole thing as the other.
Well, you know, these things are expensive
when you're the co-pilot. In fact, they probably didn't even ask him to stand up there with them. They were like, "What's the Wookiee weapon? Did you get a medal for the Wookiee?"
Photobomb. Yeah, you get one medal per ship, you know, and that's for the ship.
No way.
Yeah. And at the end, when he goes, oh, like that, he's like, where's my medal? And then credits.
He's probably complaining that he didn't, and they cut him off because he started talking.
I think the canon thing is he's too tall and they couldn't make it work in the ceremony. And so they just said, I will give you yours backstage later.
Ridiculous.
They could have had like a ring the Wookiee.
All right.
Throw it and try and
We're
get it
off the
around
rails.
head.
We're
Yeah.
off the rails. All right.
All right.
Let's go ahead
Cool.
and sign off
Cool
there.
episode.
Yeah, it was a great episode. Catch us for the next episode talking about the second one. So
Yep.
all right.
See y'all
Thanks,
later.
everybody.